Hey everybody, Mandy Rave Ecstatic Astrology here to talk to you about the new moon in Taurus, which is today, Friday, May 19th. Also my daughter's birthday. Happy birthday, Matilda. So it was exact around 10:53 today, Central US time. I'm in the Central US, so check your local time and date. This new moon is at 28 degrees of Taurus, but there's so much more in Taurus than just the new moon. So it's the sun, the moon, the planet Uranus, Mercury, which is now direct, the North Node, which is the eclipse point, and Jupiter is now in Taurus. So much has changed since the full moon eclipse in Scorpio, which is what we had 2 weeks ago. And that was a completion, I think, of the eclipse cycle. And this new moon in Taurus is a new beginning here, especially with Jupiter co-present and Mercury after it's gone retrograde in Taurus. So this area of our chart is really getting a fresh, new look, let's say it that way. So the presence of Uranus there is, it can be upheaval, it can be change, especially when with regards to our values and maybe how we spend money, exactly what makes us feel comfortable. Taurus is related to the senses. It's also related to Earth. So any new projects that we're trying to grow, this new moon is about that with the addition of Uranus, which is change and new values and revolution, and Jupiter, which is expansion and philosophy and truth. And so much is going into this new moon with this very, very big stellium in Taurus. So I think it's going to be important for you to watch your rising sign videos to explain a little bit about this new moon specifically for you in your chart. So Taurus, again, is fertile ground, fertile soil to grow new projects in. It's fixed earth. So it's been getting a lot of treatment from the eclipses over the last 18 months. The North Node has been in Taurus developing this area. Now that Jupiter's in here, we're going to expand that even more. And Uranus has been there for several years. Now we have the new moon today, starting a new cycle. What is new in this area is what you might want to ask yourself. Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus, is in Cancer. So that means the moon, which is in Taurus, new moon in Taurus, is the ruler of Cancer, and Venus is the ruler of Taurus. That means they are in mutual reception. So that's really lovely. Venus is a benefic planet, and Venus is bringing awareness to our feelings, kind of kind, caring look into our inner world, into how we're nurturing ourselves and nurturing wherever Cancer is in your chart. But the new moon in Taurus is sextile to Mars in Cancer. So we have Venus and Mars in Cancer right now. Mars is at 29 degrees of Cancer, the very last degree, and it's sextile, which is opportunity to the new moon. So there is a lot of action and motivation in this new moon, but through the lens of emotional, nurturing, self-care Cancer. So our emotions are playing into this. In other words, there is a new cycle starting, and we felt into the Cancer part of our chart, and we are ready to take action on it, which is good, except for the fact that I believe tomorrow is when Mars moves into Leo. This is important. Let me show you the chart because I feel like this is something to focus on. So we've got the new moon here at 28 degrees of Taurus, and then Mars at 29 degrees of Cancer. And that is exactly 60 degrees apart, which is known as a sextile opportunity. So great for the new moon, great jumping off point, but we're immediately thrown into the fire, if you want to say it that way. Mars moving into a fire sign. Mars has an affinity for fire. Mars is about action. It's about desire, motivation, passion. It's how we move through life. So when it moves into Leo, it gets a boost. Mars in Cancer is the nurturing warrior, right? It's like the nurse in wartime. That's Mars in Cancer. Mars in Leo is the lion. It is, I'm going to do this thing that my heart is connected to. Leo is creativity. But this immediately sets off, instead of those nice sextiles at the new moon today, the 19th, the 20th, we immediately set off Mars square Jupiter, which is overdoing it. It's big action. It is taking action even if we don't feel capable of it. It is running full steam ahead into what we want. And then there is also a square from Pluto to Jupiter, which means this is an opposition. And then if you factor in the nodes, this is what's called a grand cross. So, I mean, the imagery of a cross, we're kind of hanging on it, right? This is a fixed grand cross. And of course, that's with the nodes factored in. If you don't factor in the nodes, it's T square. Either way, it's about taking action. Just so happens that Mars is involved. So that action gets an extra oomph with Mars square Jupiter. Now, the Mars opposing Pluto part is about claiming our power or seeing where we need to transform our lives, how we can grow things, but maybe feeling disempowered. So we're talking about Jupiter and Taurus, maybe feeling disempowered by something in the collective, Pluto and Aquarius. Aquarius is about large groups of people. And then also perhaps wanting to just let it all go and have fun. I mean, Leo is creativity and fun and inner child and children. And so Mars in Leo is like, why do we have to be so concerned with our values and be so concerned with what's going on with humanity? I just want to kind of let go, have fun, do my own thing. I want to be seen. Mars in Leo needs to be seen. So we're taking action based on things like our inner child, where our heart is connected. And that may be a little in tension with what we're trying to grow with new values, and we're trying to adjust both around the other. So it can be impulsive. And then Pluto and Aquarius exerting all this power and pressure in Aquarius with Mars opposite can be like the final straw for people. So some people will go scorched earth during this Mars square Jupiter, during this Grand Cross. And I have news for you. This Grand Cross will last all week. So I've got the red arrow pointed at Mars. You can see at 1 degree. Let me point this red arrow at Jupiter at 1 degree. And then they sort of move together for a minute. Mars at 2 degrees. And we're looking at Wednesday, May 24th right now. May 24th, the moon joins the party. And, that's just going to add the emotionally explosive component to this Mars opposing Pluto, square Jupiter, Grand Cross, T square, yada, yada, yada. I would put Wednesday as a huge marker for maybe some upheaval or explosiveness, or a moment where you just say, no more, I can't take it anymore. I've got to make a change. I've got to take action on this. So that lasts for, there we go, Jupiter's at 2 degrees, Mars is at 2 degrees till about Friday, Saturday. I would give it Saturday for, so this whole week is going to feature the Mars square Jupiter. And that's, a lot of people may overdo it. I would be concerned with what I think I can do with my physical body, because Mars can be about the physical body, especially the head. It rules the head. So square to Jupiter, Jupiter expands everything, even in a square, and it just makes you want to take action and do and do. And so some people, it's like, sure, I can jump across that large ravine. No, this is not the time to try that. This is a time to be aware of your physical body, be aware of your passions, your motivations. And I think it's going to be nearly impossible to not be aware of that, but definitely your physical body and what you're doing in terms of reality with your senses, with your body, making sure not to get too hot-headed or let something trigger you too much. Lean on Venus and Cancer, drink a big glass of water if you're angry. This would be a time when you would see explosions. And in fact, it would not surprise me if there was some sort of explosive information or explosive event that happens, especially with Mars in a fire sign of Leo. So let me go back. So I've just kind of given you an overview of the week with this Mars square Jupiter opposing Pluto, which is going to be a pretty big deal. And it's actually going to tell us a lot about the upcoming summer. Leo is going to dominate the summer. wherever Leo is in your chart. And I'll talk about that in your rising sign videos. So, yes, while this new moon is wonderful and beautiful, there is some perhaps frustrating or triggering stuff coming up. Now, some people have a lot of fun with Mars square Jupiter because you have energy, you want to do the thing, it's maybe optimism. Some people do not. So report back. How is this coming week? How does it go for you? I'd like to know. And it's interesting that we have the new moon in Taurus today, the 19th, and then immediately Mars and Leo square Jupiter in Taurus. So the interplay between Taurus and Leo is going to be big this summer. And this is the moment where you start to see the themes come up. What are these themes? So let me back up to tomorrow. I'll just give you a day by day play because I like to do that. I like to prepare people for the next coming couple of weeks. So today, new moon in Taurus. The moon immediately, in fact, in the next hour or two today on the 19th, moves into Gemini. And you can see that here. This is the moon, the crescent down here. The moon in Gemini will square Saturn almost immediately. Saturn is work, Saturn is obstacles. Saturn's in Pisces, which can be lack of clarity. Luckily, it's overnight, but the minute the moon moves into Gemini, we may feel those effects this afternoon. So it's something to note. Good time to make lists and to prioritize what you need to do. Venus in Cancer is kind of hanging out, not doing much until, let's see. So Mars moves into Leo Saturday, Sunday. Let me double check that of the time with the moon still in Gemini. And forgive me, I got to get this correct here. I want to make sure. Yeah, so Saturday morning, Mars moves into Leo. And so that's just something to be aware of. I'm having a big birthday party with kids sleeping over. So I'm going to make sure they don't get into any, cat fights. That's something that could happen. Yeah, but Venus is hanging out by itself, kind of. The moon still in Gemini, square Neptune on Sunday. That's kind of a sleepy kind of lack of clarity, escapism moment. That happens more around the afternoon, Sunday the 21st. So that actually might be kind of nice. We might need the kind of escapism to get out of the Mars square Leo feelings for a minute. But it is something to know that we can actually use our minds with the moon in Gemini. We're intellectual. We are thinking about it and considering things. It just may be a little difficult to come by on Sunday with the moon square Neptune. But I am watching Venus. And the reason is, so the moon moves into Cancer Monday, Sunday into Monday. It's overnight. It's always nice when the moon is co-present with Venus because it's just a nice feeling time, especially in Cancer. It's kind of comfy. It makes you feel like you just want to be with people you love, maybe be at home doing things that are comfortable for you. And the moon will sextile Jupiter as soon as it moves in Monday morning, and then sextile the node, sextile Mercury as it moves along Monday. So Monday is pretty good. It'll trine Saturn, but we still have the Mars square Jupiter happening. So you have to take your wins where you get them this week. And I think Monday may be okay with the moon in Cancer. It may be emotional. It is cool though that Mars is sextile the sun. So we do have a few supportive things that's opportunity to think, to intellectualize our actions going forward before we make that step that we can't handle with Mars square Jupiter. And so using your intuition and your mind during this time, I know it sounds ridiculous to remind you to use your intuition and your mind, but some people, it's all feelings, it's all anger, this is a time to stop for a minute, step back, think about it, especially with the moon trine Saturn. We have a minute to kind of ground ourselves and think about it, intuit what's going on, check it in with our spirit, with our mind before moving forward. And then the reason I'm looking at Venus as we move toward the moon Venus conjunction, which is actually exact Tuesday, the 23rd. So again, a really nice moment there. But Venus becomes within 2 degrees of a sextile with Uranus. Uranus is the change maker. Uranus is in Taurus, a Venus ruled sign. So Venus and Cancer sextile, that is like the opportunity to change, the maybe the emotional awareness that something's changing, that you may need freedom somewhere, that you may need revolution somewhere. So Tuesday, we still have Mars square Jupiter going on, but we have this Moon Venus sextile Uranus that may help us move forward through our intuition, through the places that we need self care, that we need nurturing, or with the people we need to nurture. Um, so that's Tuesday. Now, Wednesday is the day I kind of previewed earlier, Moon Mars. That happens pretty early in the day. So, I mean, before lunchtime, I guess it's like around 9:30 is when the moon's moving into Leo. And I would put that on, make a note of it, So moon moves into Leo 9:36 or 35 a.m. May 24th, again, central US time. This will light up the Mars square Jupiter again. And this may be something that we become definitely aware of, a place that we have desires that we need to act on, that we want to act on. The question is, given our values and how they may have changed, or given, for instance, our money situation, that's Taurus, given the things that make us comfortable, are we able to make this change? Are we able to take this action? And then, of course, Pluto's sitting there opposite, which is transformation and power and sometimes disempowerment. So Wednesday is definitely going to be a hump day. You know, woo buddy. Okay, then we've got Thursday the 25th. This is when Venus is almost exactly sextile Uranus. So Thursday is the big day for that. I just looked at Tuesday because the moon will be there too, and it's applying. So Tuesday, Thursday, these are moments that something shifts, something changes for the better. Venus is good. But keep in mind, Mars is still square Jupiter opposite Pluto. Mars is also what's known as at the bendings, which is exactly square to the node points. And this is actually a moment that we do take action on the eclipse story as well. So Thursday is also big. This whole week is filled with big days of change, of shift, of needing to take action. Friday, let's see. Just looking at what the moon's doing Friday. I don't think it's doing too much. I mean, it's the moon will be square to Uranus as we sleep, so probably not that big of a deal. But when we move into Saturday, Mars square Jupiter is finally letting off. Mars opposite Pluto is finally letting off. But the moon is now square. So we have the first quarter square of the moon Saturday morning. This is in Virgo. Virgo has a tendency to need to get very detailed. With the sun in Gemini, which is kind of flighty, takes in information, wants to be the trickster. The moon in Virgo is like, no, we need to really dial it in and figure out what we're going to do. And then it's also opposite Saturn. So this is what we have. Saturday is another T square with Saturn and the moon and the sun. So I think the big story here is not the moon, because the moon moves very fast. But it will, I think our emotions will definitely be feeling this. But the big story is the sun square Saturn, I think, because this lasts for at least a full day. And Saturn can be obstacles. In Pisces, this is like trying to bring structure to the fog, right? So that can be difficult. The sun in Gemini just wants to figure it out. I think a help is that the moon will be trine to Mercury. So that is good. Whoops, I'm drawing all over this thing. The moon will be trine to Mercury. So yeah, definitely making lists, figuring out what is worth what to you, what is priority is going to be a very good thing to do Saturday. This is a time when we go, okay, we got to put in the work. And I specifically have something coming up Saturday. I know it's going to be like, okay, this is a moment we get tested, I think. So it's funny that this coming week from now through the next weekend is filled with the Mars square Jupiter wanting to take action, pushing, maybe overdoing it. And then the test moment comes Saturday when the sun squares Saturn. So that could be also a little heavy, a little full of work and responsibility. I know it's a weekend, but it's something for you to pay attention to. Uh, okay, so and by this point, Venus is past the sextile to Uranus. So then Sunday, May 28th, we're going into Memorial Day weekend with the moon opposing Neptune that evening. So I expect Sunday night to be one of just wanting to veg, wanting to chill, wanting to watch some TV, take a nap. That's Sunday's feels, I think, after all of the work of this week and weekend to come. Then we get into May 29th, Monday, and this is the moon in Libra. Uh, that is trine to the sun, so that's really nice. And it'll be sextile Mars. And is there any other weird thing going on? No, Mars is past the square to Jupiter. Um, I think Monday may actually be kind of low key with the moon in Libra. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like that's going to be a big day on the radar anyway. So that's good. Same with Tuesday, it looks like. Uh, I'm just scrutinizing here. We have a brief moon opposition to Chiron, which can be a sensitive area. That's at night, Tuesday the 30th, but not a big story, in my opinion. It's the moon in Scorpio that's going to be a big story, and that's Wednesday the 31st. And at that point, the moon is opposing Jupiter. So big feels, especially with where we relate to the eclipse cycle. What are we letting go of? Maybe control, maybe holding on to something that's no longer good for us. Maybe it's something disempowering. So it's big feels about that. And then also where we want to be going with Jupiter conjunct the North Node. So Wednesday, the 31st, and I would say more towards the last half of the day because the moon doesn't move into Scorpio until probably just after 7 p.m. Wednesday, May 31st. You can expect to maybe be going into, shadow stuff around this time. That's because the moon is not only opposing Jupiter in the North Node, it is square to Pluto and it will be square to Mars. So it may be a little bit of a restless night. Sometimes with the moon square conjoined to Mars, I can't sleep. So we'll see how that goes. And it actually squares Mars Thursday morning, June 1st. So right as you wake up. So it's one of those mornings you may wake up at 4 a.m. and you're like, God, I can't get back to sleep. All right. So this is when we start to get Venus coming into a trine with Neptune. Thursday, June 1st, it's less than a degree away. I think this because Neptune's at 27, Venus on Thursday, June 1st is at 26. That's a degree away. So it starts to apply. Now, what is Venus trine Neptune? That is going to be imagination, creativity. I really like it. It can be escapism, it can be rose colored glasses. So that's something to note where we're just like, oh, this seems and feels really good, but is it? I think is the question. That's what we have to watch out for. The moon in Scorpio is opposing all of this Taurus on June 2nd with Venus trining Neptune. So I feel like Friday, June 2nd, maybe almost like a wormhole. Okay. Like that's just the nature of Neptunian transits, water transits. This is going to form almost a kite, definitely by sign. We've got the asteroid Vesta there at the kite point if we were looking at it that way. But I would say Friday is a time we dig deep as we explore the Scorpio area, maybe the things that we're still holding on to, the things that we're afraid of, the things that disempower us. June 2nd. At about 4 p.m., maybe closer to 6 and 7 p.m. on Friday, June 2nd, there is the nice grand trine. You can see this big blue triangle here with the moon, Neptune, and Venus. This is a great day if you're creative to write, to create, to imagine, to daydream. It has its place, and this is a great day for it. So meditation, kind of just getting out there and imagining what life you could have. That's June 2nd. And then we get to full moon territory with the moon moving into Sag. Now, what's weird about this? Has anyone caught on yet? Sometimes we have the new moon in a sign and then the full moon in the opposing sign. So a lot of times, the last year, I think we had new moon in Gemini, full moon in Sag. This time is not the same because we had two new moons in Aries this year. So we had a new moon in Taurus. And then the culmination of that is in Sagittarius, not Scorpio. It's in Sagittarius. So we've got the sun in Gemini and the full moon in Sag. So the things that you intend for the new moon in Taurus are going to culminate in this Sagittarius area, which is kind of counterintuitive because Sagittarius is in conjunct to Taurus. They don't see each other. Sagittarius is optimism, it's philosophy, it's adventure. Taurus wants to stay home and wrap up in a blanket and a luxurious blanket and be comfortable, right? And check the bank account. That's the nature of Taurus. Sagittarius is like, I want to get out, I want to go. So, how do those fit in together? I think that's what we're trying to figure out with this moon phase is, what part of my values affects the way I'm optimistic, affects my truth, my philosophy, and the way I go on adventures and the way I explore reality. So the full moon is actually exact. I want to say, time is it? Yeah, it'll be like 11:06 p.m. June 3rd. And I will be back to talk to you about that, um, I guess around June 3rd. So, recap, new moon in Taurus, setting intentions on the places that we find comfort, on what we find aesthetically pleasing, materially valuable, and even valuable in the kind of metaphysical sense, if you will, like what my values are. And then, with Venus coming into this sextile with Uranus, I think a change in values is even still on the plate. And then Mars square Jupiter can be frustrating, opposing Pluto. And don't forget about the Sun square Saturn. So those are my important high points for this new moon in Taurus. And it's interesting, the full moon will be in Sag next, which is Jupiter ruled, and Jupiter's in Taurus. So it's all Taurus, baby. It's Taurus all the way down. Well, I'm going to go record your rising sign videos now. And I hope this preview of the next 2 weeks has helped you plan your week. And I wish you the best. Ecstaticastrology.com for any reading or session needs. And yeah, holler at me, comment, like, share, subscribe, all the things. I'll catch you on the flip side. See you for the rising sign videos.